Country music legend Dolly Parton has died. Her nephew reported the news on her official Instagram account.
Hey guys, it's me here, Comrade Lavender here, and I'm back with another YouTube video here. Today I wanted to talk about Pure Evil, the Dolly Parton Files deep dive, everything wrong with capitalism. But before we get started, all my YouTube videos related to this topic will be on the screen right now if you would like to check them out. So let's get into this YouTube video topic.
Dolly opened doors not just for me, but for her entire family to reach the potential we didn't even know was possible. Dolly also opened doors for generations of singers, songwriters, musicians, and dreamers from every walk of life and across every continent.
Dolly Parton revealed days earlier that her health was declining.
I wanted to talk about Dolly Parton because everyone's trying to make her this nice millionaire woman who can do no wrong. Kind of influencer when that's not true. She's not this innocent old white Southern lady from Tennessee. I'm going to be honestly, I only know her because she posed for Playboy magazine back in the late 1970s, and the fact she sings country songs about a young bank teller woman with green eyes stealing her man her with her Jolene song. But besides that, I didn't know anything about her besides her Dollywood Park because of a YouTube channel I watched on it.
In late 2000, Saddam Hussein made a bold move that shook the West. He stopped selling Iraq's oil in US dollars and switched to euros instead. Saddam wanted to strengthen his country's economy and end its dependency on the US dollar. Because of this bold decision, Iraq's oil profits skyrocketed by hundreds of millions. This wasn't just business, it was defiance. Saddam had dared to challenge the world's most powerful currency, the petrodollar, the very system that keeps global demand for the US dollar alive.
Muammar Gaddafi tried to launch a single African currency and challenge the US dollar. The gold dinar was developed in secret by the former Libyan dictator, who stockpiled 144 tons of gold and a similar amount in silver to back the currency. Leaked Hillary Clinton emails, who was the US Secretary of State at this time, showed that while the 2011 US deployment in Libya was done under humanitarian grounds, the behind-the-scenes conversation was all about oil and money.
But it turns out she was really supportive of the Iraq War. As we all know, the Iraq War was started pretty much the same exact way that the war in Libya with NATO was started. The United States is a bully, went crazy because the US empire has been crumbling. They are scared of Iran, China, and Russia. And to keep the US imperialism narrative going, they attacked Iraq for trying to change the oil currency. Independent anti-imperialist media outlets like Mint Press News report that the 2003 US invasion of Iraq was driven largely by the imperative to protect petrodollar hegemony after Saddam Hussein shifted Iraqi oil sales to the euro in 2000. According to this framework, the intervention was designed to prevent a broader contagion effect that could destabilize the US dollar's global standing and economic dominance. According to Mint Press News, the 2011 NATO intervention in Libya mirrored the Iraq War, driven by Western opposition to Muammar Gaddafi's plans for a gold-backed Pan-African currency.
شخص معدوم كنت فرحان بشكل شيخ العلم الامريكي يعني ما شفنا من مثل هاي الحكومه بير وبوش هم رجعونا للصفر. يمكن اقول لك رجعنا للقرون الوسطى واكثر. انا لو مجرم يعني اقتلهم.
Declassified emails from Hillary Clinton's private server further corroborate that French leadership sought to curb Gaddafi's economic influence so more countries wouldn't adapt this anti-American narrative. Many Iraqi citizens expressed severe regret regarding the outcome of the US invasion and the subsequent removal of Saddam Hussein due to ensuing instability and violence. Retrospective reports from independent media indicate that a significant portion of the population feels the country was left worse off. Qadim Sharif al-Jabouri, the Iraqi weightlifter, famously filmed smashing the base of Saddam Hussein's statue with a sledgehammer during the 2003 invasion of Baghdad, publicly expressed deep regret for his actions and a strong hatred for George W. Bush. Despite having spent 11 years in prison under Saddam Hussein, al-Jabouri argued that what followed the invasion was far worse. He cited the rampant corruption, intense sectarian violence, killing, and looting that plagued Iraq post-2003. Al-Jabouri heavily criticized US President George W. Bush and UK Prime Minister Tony Blair, labeling them liars who destroyed the country. He publicly stated that both leaders should be put on trial for war crimes and for ruining Iraq. Dolly Parton supports the US terrorists, the US military troops. She's not some nice old woman that she tried to cosplay herself as. She's a bad millionaire woman just like the others, and her niceness she tried to pass on was a total facade. Dolly Parton spent decades building a highly visible and deeply intertwined relationship with the U.S. military, America, and traditional American patriotism. While she frequently claimed she was not a bit political, but extremely patriotic, her entire brand was tightly wrapped in the American flag, military culture, and institutional support. Operation Desert Storm Pinup 1991. During the Gulf War, Parton emerged as one of the military's most prominent pop culture symbols. Her likeness was famously painted as nose art on several U.S. military aircraft, including a KC-135 Stratotanker named Miss Dolly. She made highly publicized appearances at stateside bases, most notably visiting Fort Hood, Texas, where she posed on M1 Abrams tanks with soldiers, signed autographs, and delivered her viral, "Dolly Parton yelled, Saddam Hussein, you son of a bitch. You touch one of my men again and see what happens." The backlash on social media erupted as anti-war accounts and leftist critics leveraged this moment to challenge her popular public image as a peaceful, flawless influencer, arguing that she actively championed American imperialism. The anti-war critique, leftist and anti-imperialist commentators circulated the quote and photographs of her posing with military aircraft to argue that she lent her massive celebrity platform to cheerlead wars that ultimately devastated the region. Critics contrasted her aggressive pro-military stance with other contemporary artists who faced intense blacklists for protesting the conflicts. The America Supports You campaign in 2005. She was an official, high-profile participant in this Department of Defense communication program, which was launched to showcase public backing for the military during the height of the post-9/11 wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. Parton leaned heavily into military-centric and patriotic themes throughout her discography. While she wrote songs detailing the heavy grief of war on families, her framing always remained steadfastly supportive of the troops. Ballad of the Green Berets. She recorded a notable country tribute cover of this classic, overtly pro-military anthem, for God and Country album 2003, released on Veterans Day 2003, the year of the Iraq invasion. This was her most explicitly patriotic album. It blended traditional anthems like the Star-Spangled Banner with original songs like Color Me America, which heavily emphasized red, white, and blue imagery and national unity. She recorded a prominent cover of Lee Greenwood's signature patriotic anthem, God Bless the USA. Disneyland sponsorships. She did in a massive, multi-day charitable initiative. Parton fully funded and sponsored an all-expenses-paid trip to Orlando for over 1,000 children of fallen U.S. military service members, honoring their families with an extensive tribute and candlelight vigil. Her ties to the military also had a personal root. Her own husband of nearly 60 years, Carl Dean, was a U.S. Army veteran.
Dolly Parton, Playboy Bunny?
You're probably wondering why I'm dressed like this. Well, it's for my husband's birthday.
The 75-year-old legend recreated her iconic Playboy cover as a gift to her husband Carl on his 79th birthday.
He still thinks I'm a hot chick after 57 years, and I'm not going to try to talk him out of that.
Dolly appeared on the cover of Playboy back in 1978. She vowed to do another cover when she turned 75. But now that she's 75, there's no more Playboy magazine. But she put on a vintage bunny outfit anyway.
She also did Playboy, which the magazine was owned by Hugh Hefner, another sexual abusive predator. By aligning her personal brand with Playboy while Hugh Hefner owned it, Dolly Parton effectively condoned the enterprise. From this perspective, choosing to do business with an organization means validating its owner and the culture they created. The 1978 Playboy Playmate cover she did. Dolly Parton actively chose to appear on the cover of the October 1978 issue. By placing her massive celebrity and likeness on the front page, she directly helped market and sell Hefner's product to the global public. Rather than distancing herself from the publication later in life, Parton frequently spoke fondly of the experience. In public interviews, she explicitly referred to Playboy as a classy magazine and described the collaboration as a hoot, framing the media empire in a positive, harmless light. In 2021, Parton actively renewed her association with the brand by posing in a matching replica of her original bunny outfit for her husband's birthday.
Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, with the goal of bringing a world-class attraction to her hometown in the Smoky Mountains. And the park was then reopened for the 1986 season and all following as Dollywood. Now, we all know Dolly Parton for having some serious beef with a redhead named Jolene, running the best little whorehouse in Texas, and being a musical genius and I ended up having to close my eyes for the entire ride.
That one was too scary for me.
She shared the video publicly on her social media channels, continuing to promote the specific, Hefner-designed Playboy imagery decades later, following the release of The Secrets of Playboy docuseries and numerous high-profile accounts detailing systemic abuse, grooming, and manipulation at the Playboy mansion. Parton never issued a statement, retraction, or condemnation. For critics, her total silence serves as a passive endorsement. By refusing to speak out against Hefner or the documented exploitation within his circle, she protected her own business interests and maintained her standard policy of corporate neutrality, leaving her historical support of the brand unchallenged. Dolly Parton built much of her brand on representing the struggles of the overworked, underpaid working class, most famously through her 1980 hit 9 to 5. However, left-wing critics point out a stark contradiction in how she later monetized that very struggle. She's a millionaire, which makes her slightly less worse than a billionaire or trillionaire like Elon Musk. In 2021, she faced significant backlash for rewriting her anti-capitalist anthem into 5 to 9 for a Squarespace Super Bowl commercial. The ad flipped the song's original message about workplace exploitation to celebrate hustle culture and working a second job all night. Critics labeled the ad dystopian and accused her of selling out a working-class anthem to glorify corporate burnout. While she provided excellent benefits to Dollywood employees, such as covering 100% of college tuition, economists and labor organizers note she still chose to accumulate massive wealth, briefly entering billionaire territory before strategic charitable giving lowered her tax brackets, in an economically depressed region of Appalachia where many locals remain trapped in low-wage service and tourism economies. While she famously said in a colloquial interview that, of course, Black Lives Matter, music journalists noted that she carefully avoided endorsing any actual political movements or anti-racism organizations. Her corporate brand immediately stepped back to ensure her conservative Southern fanbase wouldn't boycott her parks. The LGBTQ tightrope she's done. Dolly Parton has long been celebrated as a gay icon, but she frequently faced criticism from progressive advocates for refusing to use her massive political leverage in Tennessee to actively fight anti-LGBTQ+ or anti-trans legislation passing in her home state. Conversely, right-wing factions routinely threatened to boycott her simply for expressing basic kindness toward the community. Her response was always to retreat into vague, safe religious messaging about not judging others rather than taking a concrete stand. Dolly Parton faced significant and lasting criticism for cultural appropriation and the exploitation of Native American culture, specifically tied to her business ventures. The center of this controversy was her dinner theater attraction, Dolly Parton Stampede, formerly Dixie Stampede, rather than her music tours. Critics and indigenous advocates pointed out that the show capitalized on harmful caricatures for commercial entertainment, stereotypical costumes, and masks. The performance relied heavily on Hollywood-style tropes rather than accurate representation. Actors wore generalized, inaccurate regalia and exaggerated masks that critics labeled as offensive, cartoonish caricatures of indigenous people. The show framed Native Americans through a highly romanticized, aggressive frontier lens. Critics argued that this minimized the historical realities of Western colonization and forced displacement, turning systemic genocide into a light-hearted, theatrical spectacle to entertain tourists.